Hello guys, today I wanted to share with you my asset that I use for work. I use it pretty much all the time when it comes to instances and stuff like that. And of course this asset is free. It comes with the example files that I'm gonna show you right now. And of course the free version is a black box, so you cannot see how it was made. And if you want to see how it was made, you need to subscribe to my Boosty page, or you can just buy this asset individually and use it as you wish. Let's start off by looking at the example files. So the basic use case of this node, of course, is just instancing. So for example, let's imagine that you have some sort of geometry with normals and you scatter some points on them. And then you just create a point transform, and by default, it just sets the scale here, as you can see, to 0.1. And then if you select this node, it creates a OpenGL attribute to show points as a spheres by default. Okay, you can input the seed attribute if you have. For example, we're gonna look at later where if you have particles that are burning and dying, this can be used. And of course, you can set the orient. So it basically creates two set of attributes, p-scale and orient. So let's look at the copy to point. So I just copied the basic robot toy here. And then let's imagine that we want to have a random scales on them, right? So we set up our basic scale. For example, let's set this to 0.2, and then we want to randomize it. So you just turn this off and it automatically randomizes them, and you can choose what type of randomization you want, right? The seed of it. And then let's say that you want to have some of those robot toys to be a little bit bigger, so you can just use this fraction multiplier. So you can select the fraction of those points and then make it, for example, twice as big, right? So this is also, I use it all the time, so I made this asset for myself as well. Okay, so this is the basic stuff. Let's look at the set orient, and by default it goes with the velocity. In this case, let's select the normal, and as you can see, it looks in the wrong direction because by default it guesses the up vector, right? So it guesses what up vector is, but for now we don't have any up vector, right? And we know that our the correct orientation for this robot toy is like y, because we want to place it to the ground, so it looks y, right? So you just have to capture direction, just put this to y, and then it automatically fits in, right? And then let's imagine that you want to rotate this randomly around the normal, right? So you just tick this button, and then in here you can do this uniformly, or you can do this randomly. And then you can select the seed and then min-max rotation as well. And also a cool thing is that you can override this normal, right? So you can use a different attribute to rotate this around. So for example, I can say attribute randomize, and then let's say I want to create a dir attribute, which is like kind of direction, and let's say that this is direction or orientation. So right now, if we visualize this attribute, we can do this like this. By default, it's a color, but let's make this to marker, and then let's set this to vector trail. And as you can see, we have this type of basically random directions here. And then, for example, let's look at this robot, right? Let's say that I want to rotate around not my normal, right, which is just y in this case because it's just plain grid, but I want to rotate around direction attribute. And if you look, as you can see, it like rotates around this vector. This also, I use it pretty much all the time. This is really useful. I'm going to show you later how you can use this as well. And of course, in this case, just select this random here. Let's turn this off, the visualization. So they are just rotating randomly here. And of course, what else? Those are we're gonna look later. So this is the basic, this basic example, right? And then if you make it a lot more of them, and then increase the size. As you can see, you can quickly set up these attributes. You don't have to create attribute randomize one more time. And then, for example, if you want some of them make bigger, you make like a wrangle. So I just got tired of making this again and again, so I decided to make this asset, which makes life a lot easier. So this is like the same thing, but this is also have ability to rotate around the cone of the object. So it creates a cone and rotates around it. So you can just, for example, if you're copying trees, this can be useful. Okay, this is particles spinning randomly. So let's look at them. Let's imagine that you have some like a glitter animation, right? So you have a lot of points. Let's say this is a, for example, like particle simulation, right? And then you have these coins which gives this nice reflections, right? And you want them to be like rotating around themselves, right? But you want it to be randomly and you want to control the size. So this is allows you to do that. For example, what I did here, I just set the type to random and I just tick this spin randomly option and I select the scale that I want to have, right? And that way, for example, I can make this a lot faster. So then I just rotate a lot faster, and this can give you nice reflections. So you can make it even more. And then, for example, let's say that I wouldn't want to do this thing, and this can give you real nice reflection at the render. Of course, this is also have ability to look at the velocity direction. For example, you have this sort of a particle simulation and you want your instances to look at their velocity direction, right? This can be tricky because this doesn't work all the time. It doesn't work if you just give it a velocity vector as a direction. It's gonna have weird issues where it just keeps rotating around itself and stuff like that. And this case also is useful to select this seed attribute because we are working with the simulations where it needs to have this seed attribute. And as you can see, my instances, which is this guy, they are look basically where velocity is going, and this can be also used to have really nice effect. And then it doesn't have any jitter, as you can see, so they slowly nicely rotate. They only have jitter when they're like just born here, and this also can be fixed. I'm gonna show you later. So this is basic look at option here. As you can see, those instances looks at your object, and this can be of course used different ways as well. So basically you have a here option look at target, and you can select this target. So this is like a master example. For example, let's say you have a debris, right? So you have some sort of explosion and you have some debris, and a lot of time I had a stuff where I need to quickly add small fake debris. And what I do usually, if I have, for example, from the debris source, I didn't do this example here, but I just select this pyroburst example quickly. So let's say that you have this small debris, and then you want to copy like a rock type of geometry, and then you also want them to, so I enabled the spin randomly and I enabled the rotate by speed. What rotate by speed does, let's say that you have a point which moves fast and then stops, and this can be used to just so quickly rotate when it's at his max speed, right? So I'm gonna show you this. I'm not so as you can see, it rotates and then just stops. So this is kind of nice example to use with the debris. So I do that all the time in my work. And of course, as you can see, also this normalized edge. So if I turn this off, as you can see, they come out of nothing and then just disappear. With this normal edge, you need to provide it the age and life attribute, and now it just slowly disappears. Of course, for the rocks, it's not really useful, but for some sort of a particle simulation, it's going to be very useful. And then this pixel perfect, which is also pretty cool. So imagine you're doing some sort of a particle simulation, and let me turn off the grid, and I'm gonna select this mode here. So you have particles, and you can see that some of the particles are really small, and they can be smaller than pixel size, right? So for example, in this case, it's a HD resolution, and those particles can be smaller than 1 pixel, and this can give very ugly results at render time. So it can produce a lot of basically noise, right, in these areas. If the particle is smaller than the average, not average, but the pixel size, right, 1 pixel size, it makes them to be equal to this pixel size, right? And then you can control this. So you can make this, for example, bigger than pixel. So by default it's set to 2, and then you can see that you can visualize those particles that are smaller than 1 pixel. And this can be used again to reduce that noise and to reduce that pop-ups when it happens. I don't use it all the time, but it still can be helpful. So yeah, I think there is a lot more of the combinations that you can do this with this node, but that's like just a basic example file that you're gonna get with the asset. So I hope it's gonna be useful for you. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments down below, and also if I update this anytime further, so you will find this by the same link in the description. And as I said, if you want to see how it was made, you can get this asset from my Boosty, or you can just use the free version, which is also available at my Boosty. So thank you guys, see you later.